Good morning, Nation. John here. Can y'all let me know if we are 5x5? It is Monday, so there ain't no telling, son. 19 baby chicks. Oh, Lord, I know where that's coming from. 1 second. Good morning to the moderators. Good morning to everybody for being here. Thank y'all for the 5x5s. Thank you for all. It's Monday. I'm struggling here. I ain't gonna lie to you. Thank you for all of the YouTube-y stuff. All of the thumbs up, all of the thumbs down, all of these new subscribes and stuff like this, and resubscribes because, it's YouTube. So anyway, quickly, Kelly wrote off first one in the house again. I don't know how you do it, man, but you seem to do it. I'm going to have to mix up the times or something. I'm going to go over some mail, but I'm going to do that after we do the meat and potatoes of the live stream this morning. And also, I've already got a tie on because Saturday night we were killing it as one of the biggest crowds we've ever had here at Prepper Nation. And I'm still trying to cope with that. So anyway, who's in the house before we get started? Robin, thank you for being here. Trout on dry. Some mornings I would give myself a thumbs down when we have technical issues and stuff. Talon, what's up? Izzy, good morning. Brandy, how are you doing? Thank you, Pilgrim, but I'm still keeping an eye on the microphone, and if it doesn't do what it's supposed to do, I'm going to get another one. Dan, good morning. I don't know if it had something to do with it hanging down like fruit. Who knows? Yeah, the angry beaverine on steroids. There you go. And I got a whole drawer full of ties out here, so I ain't scared. Bring them on. Randall from Costa Rica, good morning, brother. How are you? So, will America make it until 2028? What am I talking about with this? So, again, we had a packed house on Saturday. I missed a ton of stuff. It took several hours for the chat replay to reload. I stayed up and I watched the chat replay because I was still, kind of buzzing off of such a huge crowd. And one of the conversations that was taking place between, people that were watching was the 2024 elections. Will we make it until 2024? Will we not make it until 2024? And that's why I decided to, to do the poll and stuff this morning. We'll get on that in a minute. We'll jump on the poll here in a second, son. Hashtag that's what she said. But long story short, it's had me thinking for the past day and a half. Okay, so I'm the first one to admit when I make mistakes. I don't always get it right. I thought Joe Biden would be gone by now. I figured the man had 9 months to a year. He was kind of a placeholder for somebody else. I remember going on record and saying that, and I was wrong. Several of us said he ain't got 6 months. He's too old. He's too senile. But no, they're leaving him in there at least until 2024. So assuming that we make it till 2024, and again, we'll get into the poll in a second, it really got me thinking, 6 years of Joe Biden, 6 more years of the man, would we have a country left in 2028? And what would that look like? Would it be more of a 1984 style country, or would it be more of a apocalyptic Mad Max style country? It ain't going to be good either way. But, are we going to be in dune buggies trying to track gas down with shotguns, or are we just going to be living in these metropolises? Because it seems to be trending one of two ways. So anyway, let's see what y'all think this morning on the poll. 37% of you say not even the November midterms. This is how I felt for a very long time. But again, I got burned once. Joe Biden is still there. I think they're pushing to the point. I think we'll make the midterms. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong on that. And after that, what's going to break loose. 36% of you say we'll make it until the 2024 election. 17% say maybe we'll make it until the 2028 election. 10% of y'all are messing with me here this morning. Come on, it's Monday. Forever. Now drink your Starbucks. I'm not drinking Starbucks this morning. I'm drinking the Bigfoot coffee that Squatch America sent over. It's pretty good. And I did put a little cream in it. So, yeah, nobody is disputing this one. We need 1776, but a couple of months ago, someone made an excellent, they pointed out an excellent thing that really not a lot of people are thinking of. It would look wildly different because of the population alone. 1776 ain't going to look like it did the first time around, for better or for worse. Really, Luann, why Biden is making everything look up? Inflation is up. The border crossings are up. Yeah, well, you had me for a second. It's too early, but yeah, everything's up. Yeah, I didn't know it existed either. Bigfoot Coffee, Squatch America is here on YouTube. They sent over a bag. I'd never seen it in my life, but it's pretty good. There they are, actually. How you doing? Thank you for the coffee this morning. We are too unorganized for 1776. I think we're too. I don't know. It's just we're too unorganized for almost anything. Let me go on a rant here for a second. I'm going to try not to get flagged as I do this. So it being the month that it is of sunshine and rainbows and stuff, where they took God's promise and they hijacked it for immorality. Let me say it like this. So it's the entire month of this now. And people, I think we got to start standing up. Otherwise, it's over. We got to become offensive. Everybody's worried about not being offensive. And the problem with not being offensive is you stay on the defensive all the time. We need some offense. We need to be offensive for a change, and we need to call a spade a spade. So, yeah, that's all I'm going to say on that. But, yeah, I mean, it's just we're not organized, and we allow ourselves to just be put in a corner and be silenced because we don't want to offend anyone. So that's an excellent point. I'm glad you brought that up. What do you suggest? That's a great question. Amelia, two things that I would be doing right now, and this is not going to help us organize. The key to organization, I don't have the answer. If I did, I would drop it in chat. But the two things I would do right now, number one is I would focus on our kids because that's what they're focused on. They're focused on brainwashing the kids and making them accept things as normal when we know they're not normal. And parents aren't involved enough across the board. Number two, you got to be that person, and many of you are, I know in the chat, but you got to be that person that you don't care if you're surrounded by 50 ultra liberals. If you know something's wrong, get up and say it's wrong, because there's too much. There's people are being too passive about it, whether it's at work, whether it's at church, wherever you're at. If you know something's wrong and you know it, I mean, we all have that built inside of us. If you know something is wrong, it's wrong. And it doesn't change just because of the people around you are doing it. So anyway, I don't want to ramble too much on that. Time, thank you very much. But the organization part, Amelia, I'm open to suggestions on that one because that seems to, too many snowflakes, Ink Scar says. I'm open to suggestions on the organization because I really don't know how we win that one. We're scattered all throughout, in a military situation, and I ain't calling for violence, but in a military situation, you would go through and you would get the troops that were scattered and you would bring them together, kind of galvanize them. I don't know how we do that because conservatives are all over the country. You're not alone in the way you think. If you see something on TV and you're just shaking your head because you know it's ridiculous, you're not alone. Don't be afraid to offend people. But as far as bringing those people together, I don't know. Open for suggestions on that. Pine Knot Family Farm, please homeschool your kids if at all possible. It is for some people. For other people, it's just not. Thank you. Great. It's just not possible for other people who are working because it's a really tough spot to be in. You know that your kids are exposed to nonsense, but at the same time, you got bills to pay. A lot of people just can't afford to quit work and do it. Clint Hess, that's correct. Stand together or die alone. So, got to ask y'all this morning. I'm going to be watching the chat here. Are we headed for a Mad Max style world, or are we headed for a 1984 world? I thought 1984 up until recently, and I've just seen. I've been watching. I'll admit it. I've been watching documentaries on bunkers and things. I was watching one last night on Greek Island, which is the bunker in West Virginia. I think it's at the Greenbrier. Is an interesting documentary. Okay, so there we go. 1984, 1984, 1984. A couple of Mad Maxes in there. 84 into Mad Max. And the more I'm watching these documentaries, I'm thinking we're really entering a period that looks like the Cold War. And people, especially your wealthy, they're investing in bunkers now, and it almost feels like they're planning for a Mad Max. Excuse me. We've been talking about 1984, but the elites are trying to get underground, or they're trying to secure like old silos and stuff. They're looking at the world like it's going to be 1984. And so now I'm on the fence about it. Both. Somebody said both. Well, that's interesting, because I don't know how you pull both off. Like, when I'm saying Mad Max, I'm talking about a crude situation where there really is no grid. And it's just like the Wild West, if you will, versus living in a city and having your every movement watched and tracked. Yeah, thank you for that, JRC. Anybody that's brand new here, welcome, welcome, welcome. I miss a lot of the chat because it does fly, it gets busy, but I always go in and I rewatch the chat. So, I'll pick up questions and stuff that I missed. 1984 and the Mad Max, Casey Littleow says. Too far gone to save it now. And that was the other part of the question this morning. And it was really, it's a topic I wanted to talk about, but it was me asking y'all a question, because if this country makes it until 2028, I don't know. Over the past couple of weeks, I've went back and I've looked at Canadian Prepper was one, but there are other creators here on YouTube, the bigger ones. I think Rudy was one as well. And I went back and I watched their stuff from 6 years ago, just to see how much has changed, over the course of the past 6 years from their vantage point. And the one thing I can tell you is the sense of urgency is through the roof now. Some people call it fear porn or whatever, but back in those days, they were still fairly big creators, and it was more of a happy atmosphere. It was more of a, hey, come learn how to do this. And now 6 years later, it's like the prepping world, the prepping community has totally changed. So I'm curious, because what's it going to look like 6 years from now? This video, is it going to be archived somewhere and we're all going to be in camps or gone, or, whatever the case may be? It's just got me thinking about 6 years from now, 2028. I know 2030 is really the target number for these people. But by 2028, what is America going to look like, or what's left of America? I don't know. That's really been what I'm thinking about the last day and a half. Valerie Ann says the wheels are already falling off. And they are. We're going to talk about that a little bit this morning. Shanghai. We the people. Red wave in November in 2024, or the country will be too far gone. I totally agree. I know people vary on the elections and the integrity of the elections, but look, if we lose November or we lose 2024, life as we know it up until the pandemic is totally over. It's gone, because there's no recovering. Joe is, and I'm sorry if you're a Joe Biden fan, but at the same time, he is wrecking the country. He's going full Nero on this country, and he ain't even hiding it anymore. And something else, Warlord TV, what's up, man? Something else that I don't really understand is I'm hearing a lot of chatter on social media. You know, Republicans better vote to save our gun rights. Republicans better do this. It's in the hands, I think, of Republicans in Senate now, and everybody's watching the Republicans in Senate. Will they vote on this gun legislation? Will they vote it down? And I'm thinking to myself, how did we ever get here? How did we get from, because we're descendants from bluecoats, from 1776ers, right? You know, how did we go from that to placing all of our faith in a bunch of Republican senators, most of them who are rhinos, most of them that are lining their own pockets and hoping that they make the right decision so we don't have freedom stripped away? How did we make that transition? Like, where did it go wrong, do y'all think? Yeah, I'm outdoors with James. I'm still voting too. And, you know, I'm hoping that it actually does something, but I'm not just going to let them thieve it without a little bit of effort. Tolerance and acceptance got us here. Yeah, we need to be offensive. We really do. You don't want to be mean in nature and just go out of your way to hurt people's feelings. Okay. But at the same time, again, if you know something is ridiculous, don't be afraid to call it ridiculous, because they might need to hear that. Soft times. Yeah, I would agree with that. Saltwater prepper, that's a fair statement. Career politicians, people just keep putting these idiots in office, but it's that old illusion of choice where we really only have two true candidates for each state election, for each national election. We don't have a lot to choose from. And I'm just trying to figure out how we went from dumping tea into harbors and, you know, basically telling the king, you know, go fly a kite, son, to please, senators, save us and do not allow Joe Biden to take gun rights away. I don't know. Remember this as well. The other side feels the same way you do. I would love to know how so, because I don't want to paint everybody with the same brush, brother, but the other side seems to be very willing to take a knee and just to submit to the will of the government. A lot of the folks over on the left, I would argue, want the government to govern them. And I don't think that a lot of folks on the right want to be governed. We want to be taken care of. We want a strong military. Hey, man, can you police and maybe pave the roads from time to time? But I would say the folks over here want to be free. This is my opinion. The chicken tender, you're correct. People forget that they are working for us. They've forgotten that, and we've allowed them to forget it. They really aren't supposed to be the boss. No, they aren't. So I want to switch over now. I don't know if Selling Prepper's in the house or not. He would be the man to ask, but the crypto crash. They're calling it the crypto crash. The stock market's tanking as well, but crypto seems to be getting hammered really, really hard. And somebody earlier in the chat had a theory I really hadn't considered, because I was thinking buyer's market. If you're into crypto, now would be a great time to buy it. But they were saying maybe this is the wealthy transferring wealth before the reset. What are your thoughts on this? Anybody that knows about crypto or really the stock market in general, are they transferring all their wealth before they tank it completely? Or is it just a buyer's market? I believe it was you that I saw talking about. I was making coffee, but I thought, you know, that's a great theory right there. Obviously, they're capable of it. It ain't above them. You know, if they think they're going to make an extra dollar or something, they're bailing Bamagen into physical assets. Maria, I'm not that big of a fan of crypto. I do understand it better because I've had a couple of people explain it to me. I'm still not a great big fan of it, but I know some people are. Amelia, if I had money to pull from the stock market, I would pull it now. No, they are switching to commodities. I've seen, yeah, they're hoarding precious metals, gold in particular, and then also silver, but they can afford gold, whereas the average person can't afford that much gold. Kyle, what's up, brother? Everyone better have physical assets ASAP. I didn't know it was that much. Punish John McClane. Love that name. 1 billion liquidated in crypto in the last 24 hours. The line Gates. It's worse than the depression. It's a total collapse. So if it's a second Great Depression, that's going to be bad. But as you're saying, if it's a total collapse, again, I think, me personally, that we would be heading for Mad Max. We would be heading for people out in the streets, with toads trying to catch rainwater because they didn't have any other plan. Papa's Farm, wealth, power, and morale transfer. Rascal Dog, I am sorry about the microphone, brother. I may try it a different way. I may try it the next time around to go from my phone with the smaller mic. They have Fed coin now. I know they've been working on it. Yeah. Shanghai just came out of lockdown, I believe, a couple of weeks ago. Some of them have been in lockdown. They were never let out. They've been behind, fences and things. Now they're talking about testing. I think it was up to 15 million people. There's a fear that Shanghai is getting ready to go back into lockdowns over the C-19. If that happens, again, we're going to run short on a lot of things, just like we did before. But they're saying that folks over there pay attention to it because they're hoarding. The people that are no longer locked down and are fearing lockdowns, they're panic shopping. They're hoarding at their grocery stores. Look at the items that they're hoarding. If you do a deep dive on Google, you can figure out what's being bought up. And you can expect the same thing here. If lockdowns were to happen here, if they say, hey, you're not allowed to leave your home or whatever, I know some of y'all are going to dispute that. You're going to see these same items start to disappear first. And so it is very important. And again, the imports that we're counting on, a lot of those come from Shanghai. So just be watching that. Charlie's in the house, right? I like it. FJB, I like it, man. Yeah, we had talked about Thanksgiving, I think, last week, saltwater prepper. But yeah, buy Christmas presents now, and not wait, because you don't know if they're going to be there. You don't know what they're going to cost, when Christmas gets here. Caffeine bartering for cigars. That would be a tough barter for me. I think it's where I have so much coffee on hand. If I was out of coffee, I would consider that barter. But because I like them both. Let me, selling prepper, give me a second to check on the mic here. Sorry, y'all. What about now? Is this 5x5 here? I'm sorry about the mic. According to Al Groh, yeah, there's another one right there. Put him up there with Bill Nye and all them, and Gates. Al Gore, we should have been dead 3 times over. Thank y'all very much for the 5x5. I saw that. Where you at? Oh man, what happened to the Florida man, I think. Yeah, Florida man, much better. That's what she said. Thank you very much. So finally, I wanted to mention, I posted this yesterday in the community section for anybody that hasn't seen it. We have plenty here on hand. Thank y'all for asking. We have plenty here, but the rubbing alcohol is almost non-existent in this area now. I don't know why all of the sudden this stuff is gone. It used to be 50-ish cents a container before the pandemic. Now I think it's up to $1.78, and it's completely wiped out. And we have like the grain alcohol and stuff. But are you seeing it in your area? Is that just like exclusive to this area? And also, I've had a couple of emails where people have bought meat. Somebody said Sam's Club, but other people have bought it like Walmart and even their local grocery stores, and it's showing that it's in date. But then when they get it home, it's spoiled, like it's unedible. Has anybody else been seeing this as well? Little Red Dawn reference there. Has a long mustache, right? Thistle Moon. There's one homesteader who is saying don't buy silver because you can't eat it. I keep wondering what will happen completely without money. There's videos, but I disagree so completely I can't watch. So technically they're not wrong, okay? Silver is one of the very last things that I would start stacking, with the idea that you already have food stacked, you already have a way to produce your own food. I just don't see limiting yourself, because eventually you're going to need things. I don't care how good of a homesteader you are. At some point, you're going to need something. A part is going to break down on a tractor or something. You're going to have to go get one. And when you go to get one, would you prefer to trade food, that you might need down the road, or precious metals or something, or ammo? I'm not trading ammo. I don't really want to trade food or medication. Silver just gives you another avenue to barter with. Again, I wouldn't stack silver to the rafters and then get 2 cans of pinto beans, stacked up as food or something. You need to be smart about it and do it a certain way. But some people out there, they have a lot of money in the bank, or even in the stock market or 401k, and they're losing tons of money, and they're trying to figure out how to get the money out to where they're not going to lose anything else. And precious metals is just one way to do that. Back to the woods. How are y'all doing? Ammo is the new silver. Ammo is always more important than silver. Yeah, absolutely, man. Ammo, some people are okay with bartering ammo. I would not. I think it's easy. You're going to be able to barter it easy, but that stuff could come back to haunt you. So I wouldn't, I wouldn't do it. Not a problem, Steven. I got a ton of duct tape, stacked duct tape. I got a bunch of the cheap stuff, and I got some of the real stuff too. Heart Slayer, good morning. Thank you for being here. And for those that don't know, Back to the Woods here, they have an awesome website, and they do ship online. Yeah, Robert, that's it. Warlord TV. They even use silver in biblical times. Anyone who thinks it doesn't have value is a fool. Yeah, that's why it's a safe bet. You're absolutely right, because it's been traded for thousands of years. This is one of the reasons I'm skeptical on crypto. Crypto's kind of new. Some people aren't into it. You see a piece of silver and you just know it's worth something. Now it's going to have more value to somebody, maybe during Mad Max or something, or you might be limited in what you can trade it for, but they're going to want it, because that's wealth preservation. Silver bullets. Michelle, low stock in Ohio, lots of issues with product quality. That's the thing with the meats. I didn't really know what to tell the person on Patreon. I said, maybe they're just trying to stretch the line out in order not to lose so much money or what. But if it's in date, it shouldn't be spoiled. And they've continually ran into this problem, different stores and things. Dawn, I'll let the chat answer this one. New press secretary says our economy is the best in history. I'll let the chat answer that one because my coffee's not strong enough for that. Paul Adams, what's up? Anybody that believes that, guys, anybody that believes our economy is doing better than it was 3 years ago, there ain't no fixing that. I mean, there's a special kind of messed up. You just can't fix it. You ain't going to be able to sit down, as I've seen the memes, with crayons and explain it to those folks. Yeah, I mean, people see that in real time, so I don't even understand what she's talking about. That happens to us. Good expiration date, but the meat isn't. Thank you for the super chat, Mario. Now, on some things, it's not going to matter, but the meat, I mean, that's a huge issue. That's a really big issue. We were talking yesterday, the wife and I. We're researching the Harvest Right freeze dryers. They're expensive. They've went up somewhat in price, but we're considering. I don't know if we're going to do it yet. Getting one and saying, hey, this is my Christmas gift to you and this is your Christmas gift to me and stuff. I just don't know how much we would use it as opposed to a dehydrator, because we already have one of those. But when you brought up meat and my mind immediately went there, trying to preserve meat. Desire Grace, Mad Max won't happen only if a nuke is thrown. I think the problem is Mad Max looks different to different people. Somebody in downtown Chicago might think it's Mad Max right now. I mean, it's just not a great place. But yeah, if we're talking nationally, that is possible. Tomorrow would be a great Christmas gift, but they have went up. I think they were hovering around 2,000 for a while. They're almost $3,000 now for the small ones. Kelly, you okay? They're way better than the dehydrator. Okay. Yeah, I've asked Rudy. The two things I wanted to know when I asked him is how much do you use it and is it giving you any trouble? He said he uses it all the time and he hasn't had any trouble yet. Yes, please, Papa's Farm. Thank you, FJB. It's tough. It's tough. I mean, some people will think I'm sitting over here like Warren Buffett, but y'all, I'm like everybody else. That kind of money, $2,800, I think is what it was. That's $2,800. And then I'm thinking, is it going to run the electric through the roof and stuff like this? So, you're looking at $2,800, and I'm thinking I could do a lot of damage with that money, prepping wise and otherwise. Yeah, that's a half tank of gas. Holy moly, I caught a live. Speaking of, I'm glad you're here. Let me see. I got mail that I almost forgot to go over here. And the first one I'm going to show y'all is, there's two. Let me see here. Katrina. This is going on the bookshelf. I'm going to have to find a spot for it. Thank you very much for that. The second one, she'd been asking, hey, have you gotten the package? Hey, have you gotten the package? It's from Australia. And I didn't realize it was coming all the way from Australia. It's from Chrissy Craig. I see her in chat sometimes. And it's a bunch of stuff. Who doesn't want orange balls on a Monday morning? Oh, boy. Some licorice. Just a bunch of stuff. Because, honestly, I'm never going to Australia. I don't fly. I ain't making it over in a John boat. It's just a bunch of cool stuff from Australia. So I appreciate it. And check this out. Preppernation tie. So thank you very much for that, ma'am. I'm sorry it took so long to get here, but again, Australia. That's what she said. Yeah, as long as they're not blue. Really, selling prepper, you had to go there. Been using the oven as a dehydrator. Been dehydrating eggs like crazy and resealing Folgers coffee containers for storage. That's good on the storage. We have them on. It's a fairly big one. I need to bring it on a video sometime. It's a fairly big Mossy Oak brand dehydrator. And it was around, I think it was around 80 or 90 bucks when we picked it up. And it does okay. You know, you can do meat and you can do fruits and vegetables in there is all we've tried. But they were doing ice cream sandwiches and everything on the Harvest Right video I saw. Do they make those, Randall? You need an FJB tie. Do they make them? If somebody can point me in the right direction. Sunshine Girl, I'll do that. Check out Living Traditions Homestead recent YouTube video on Harvest Right. Okay. Great review and info. I haven't really heard anything negative about the Harvest Rights other than the price. The price is steep. I mean, but again, it would come down to using it. My wife was wanting to look into one because leftovers. You can go in with the leftovers. I don't know what it is. Her and her mom both, they overcook. Like there'd be 4 people here and she's cooking enough for 12 people. And I'm always telling her, honey, you don't need to cook so much. Preppernation, Ink Scars, what's up, man? Again, what's your thoughts on the trash can in the ground root cellar? Not sure what you're talking about. If you're talking about storing stuff, it would just depend on what you're storing. Or maybe I walked into the middle of a conversation there. I'd do that too. Uncle Charlie, spam here is $4.89 or $4.99, I think, for a normal size can too. My new Tennessee home, that's what my wife is going to be doing with the stuff that we're growing out there. The cucumbers, I need to post some pictures of this. The cucumbers are doing the best, and the peppers and the squash seem like they're doing the best out of everything. When we got the tomatoes, they were already plants. We got them at an Amish store, so they were already popping out a little bit. We can't there you go, Ink Scars. We can't take the credit for the tomatoes so much, but they have grown a lot. And the potatoes, I don't know. The potatoes, we always have to reach down in there. It's weird where they're in a bucket this year and feel around. You know what I mean? They're getting tall, but that's an excellent point, Kelly. Cannot use freeze dry and grid down. My garden is doing great. That's fantastic. Clint Hess, I see a lot of FJB, but all we do is take the government is stealing everything and we the people are doing nothing. I agree. You know, throwing it down on social media is one thing, but the question is what? What do you do? What do you propose doing? I tried that last year and it worked okay. 6-shooter here on YouTube got me into doing that, and then this year I'd mentioned it, I think on Patreon. A bunch of people said don't do it. They said the the potatoes may leach stuff from the tires, and I wasn't sure, so we went with 5-gallon buckets this year. Okay, thank you, Brian. I'll check it after this. Sorry, y'all, chat is flying here. All right, I'll check for it. Get a propane oven with a pilot light, great dehydrator, no grid necessary. And you could probably, smoke it like back in the day, but it's not, it ain't going to give you 25 years, I wouldn't think. A lot of the stuff out of the harvest rate's 25 years stored properly. That's what we were concerned about that too, because it's already kind of high. We the people, when are we going to protest the gas prices? So, number one, they just tell everybody to buy an electric car, and that'll solve all your problems. Have y'all seen the videos and the memes and stuff where people in electric cars, they run out of electricity and they have to call somebody, and this somebody comes up with a gas generator and charges them? And so that's number one. And number two, there really shouldn't be a shortage. If Joe would just use what we have here, I'm not talking about the reserves, but the pipelines and stuff, but he won't do it. Everything's Trump's fault. And now he's the shelf life on blaming Trump is starting to run out, I think. And so he's shifting blame over to Ukraine for everything. Everything. Chaos in Chicago, it's Ukraine's fault. Everything. I fell up the steps and, soiled my diaper. It's Vladimir Putin's fault. The chicken tender, there's no shortage of gas. Excellent point, Marbo, man. What about the farmers ain't seen an electric John Deere yet? If AOC had her, if she had her way, you would be out using hand tools to farm hundreds of acres of land. They would have you back like in, the colonial days, trying to tend to your property, because again, you're killing the earth. She'll tell you. A guy around here carries a generator in the back of his Tesla. Anybody should that has an electric car. Excuse me, Sue. I don't know how to explain this. Our potatoes, we've got a bunch in buckets. And again, they're pretty tall. In the evenings, for some reason, they all look like they're limp and they're dying. They look like they ain't been watered in a month. But then the next morning, I mean, she waters them every day unless we get rain. The next morning, they look great. They look like something you would buy somewhere. So I guess, maybe that's just part of it. Not Master Green Thumb over here or anything. Red Tyrant Hunter has a theory. Okay, I think Joe slipping is Trump's fault, of course. He dumped cooking oil on the steps as he walked down them last time. Dow has dropped 618. And yeah, Handy Prepper, good morning. It's been dropping for the past several days. Yeah, we do. The chicken tender, we do. I put 3 holes in the bottom of each. And then the raised beds that we have like the drain plugs, and gonna sound a little redneck, but what I did is I took some lumber, 2x4 with the raised beds, and on one side I kind of propped it up to where it's just barely at an angle, and they drain out, and then we've got 5-gallon buckets under the drain. So when that fills up, it goes back into the catchment. I will purchase a motorcycle before I purchase an electric car. They're a lot cooler. I'll just say that. There are, yeah, that's fair enough. There aren't as many as there used to be. No one has hundreds of acres of land anymore. It all belongs to the Chinese and Bill Gates. He owns a lot of it as well. Of course, they pretty much own him. So I'll be flagged for misinformation for saying that. I agree 10,000%. Secession is the answer. If you're not free to leave, you're not free. So, to expand on this a little bit, what he is saying is if a state chooses to leave the union for whatever reason, hey, we're out of here, we had a legitimate vote, everybody wants to leave, our politicians have, made it legal, and the federal government says, no, you can't leave, then he is saying you're not free. Y'all agree with that? Because I do, actually. Selling Prepper, thank you. I'll check it out as soon as I get done here. Convention of States, national divorce, whatever you want to call it, needs to happen. Okay, I got to check that out. I slid over there yesterday. Dynamite's a moderator over there now. Congrats on that, brother. And I went over there to make sure that happened. And he's like, man, I feel like Barney Fife now. Yeah, you're the man now. You're a law dog, Dynamite. They are putting Tesla pumps in our little town. What the heck? That's going to happen all across the nation. And people don't seem to understand where these. I was just having this conversation with my daughter last night, actually, where these Tesla pumps, where they get their electricity from. Like, where's the origin of the electricity, right? Most of it's coal. So I'm not sure how this is saving the earth, unless I miss something. Most of it's coal. So they're being sold a lie. They're paying a bunch of money for a car that actually is not helping save the earth, and they get to feel good when they lay down at night, like they're actually doing something to help. Secession is the only way. Didn't realize they'd went up. That's pretty expensive for what I'm used to paying. Usually we go to O'Reilly's or Advance, and normally they're not $200. So I'm hoping that the next time around, that ain't what I'm walking into. What are your views on militias? Wish I was in one. That's my view on militias. I think they're perfectly legal. I think they need to exist. And I think that there's probably a list of historical reasons that you could point to that militias need to exist. I would trust the militias a lot more than I would trust our own government. Just saying. So, yeah, I'm a fan of them. I do think that sometimes they have a habit of rushing in and putting themselves in trouble legally. I wish they wouldn't do that. The one that just got arrested for, potentially wanting to riot, I don't think that was actually a militia. That's just my personal opinion. They kind of look like feds to me. Exactly. Rabid Coyote right now is a perfect example of why militias need to exist. If you look, remember the Antifa chaos. If you look at those cities that were on fire and the police fled, I mean, they just said, hey, we're out of here. And they went a few precincts over or whatever. The people that live there are basically at the mercy of the mob at that point. So the concept is, if there's a militia there locally, well regulated or otherwise, you have some sort of a fail-safe when the police run, and the police do run in certain situations. That ain't knocking all police officers and LEOs, but the facts are the facts. In those particular instances, they were being told, hey, you can't go in and arrest. Just go ahead and flee and leave the people for dead, basically. Salty Gummer, I should have just said that. Regulators mount up. I love that movie, by the way. But yeah, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of militias. Yeah, I understand that we're all a militia, but you're right, Red Tyrant Hunter. You are correct. But I'm a fan of organized groups that identify as militias. A well-regulated militia. Yeah, and it's, that ain't, again, that's not me knocking law enforcement. I can imagine that a lot of those folks want it to go in and do the right thing, and the mayor or the chief of police saying, no, we're just going to go ahead and do this. So you got to do what you're told, right? But to the people that lived in those neighborhoods, like the Chaz and the Chop and all this, they probably felt abandoned, and you can't really blame them for feeling that way. That's the $1 million question, Mike. Define regulated. I've heard this brought up for a couple of weeks now from the left, and they keep saying it's got to be a well-regulated militia. Nobody actually knows the definition of that. I had a guy say, and he was right to a degree on social media. He said they were talking about the Minutemen, how the Minutemen were ready and they could respond in a moment's notice, and they had weapons training, and nobody now is well regulated, so it doesn't work anymore. It doesn't apply. And I said, our veterans have that kind of training, and they're ready to respond to this stuff. I would say that they are the Minutemen. I think our veterans are the Minutemen in 2022. This is my personal opinion. I don't know. That's what I was saying. It kind of sounds fishy to me, but I don't want to, be spreading rumors and stuff like that. I don't know. It just looked, in that particular situation, it looked like they went in wanting to be caught so they can say, hey, we're the bad guys for the TV cameras. Sweet tea audits, they have been for quite a while. Well, here's the thing, Marcia, and I've heard that argument as well. The left is saying the National Guard is the well-regulated militia, okay? But there's two issues here. Number one, active, I would say that somebody that was in the military, let's say 15, 20 years, whatever, maybe they're retired from the military. I think that they've probably had more training than somebody that's been in the National Guard for a few years, okay? Number one, and more experience. Number two, the National Guard, when you get right down to it, is an extension of the military. So, if you have that well-regulated militia in that Second Amendment to protect you from tyranny, to protect you from the military, why would you pin your hopes on an extension of that military? You know what I mean? And again, that ain't to paint anybody in a bad way that's in the military. I'm just saying, if we have a tyrannical government and they decide, hey, tomorrow we're going to suspend the Constitution and we're going to send our soldiers out to make sure it happens, well, that's tyranny in the wide open. So why would you then turn around and appeal to the National Guard to save you? You know what I mean? It seems like the veterans, in my opinion, at that point would step up and they would be the well-regulated militia, and they've had the same training and stuff. Yeah, and I've heard both sides of that. I agree with you, Robert. The military is not the people, so it's comprised of U.S. citizens. But look, man, and this, the military, they'll do shady stuff because they're told to do shady stuff. They follow orders. Good soldiers follow orders. And so they may not always have the citizens' best interests in mind when they're following orders. And as a citizen, you need a way to protect yourself, right? This is, in my opinion, what the veterans are for. The veterans, when the veterans leave the military or they've been kicked out or whatever, they don't just expire. They don't just sit on the shelf and expire. They still have that training. Many of them are still ready, willing, and able. And I don't think that a lot of veterans realize this, but civilians look to them as kind of a firewall. Those folks are there still to protect us because they're civilians again, but they're always going to be soldiers as well. I don't know. It's very hard to explain, but we got to take care of our veterans because they eventually would take care of us here. If something social goes down or civil war or something, and I ain't advocating for that, but if it were to go down, those people are going to be helping to protect us, many of them. So we got to take care of them. And it's just, I don't know. Anytime we get on the subject of veterans, I kind of get upset a little bit because I feel like they're crapped on. Once they leave the Army or Navy or Marines or whatever, once they leave the military, they're just discarded. The government seems to care about folks when they're in the military and when there's a military funeral. And in between, they're forgotten. It feels like they're forgotten by the government, at least. And I don't think that citizens need to forget about them. The oath never expires. Thank you. Sorry, I'm trying to catch up on chat here, folks. Don't have to obey an illegal order. Legal versus illegal, there can be some gray area, though. I agree with you, but there can be some gray area during times of crisis. For example, martial law. If let's say you're in the National Guard, okay, and your job is to go around door to door and collect things from people against their will. I would argue that's illegal. The state governor might say, well, no, it's legal because the paperwork is in place. So now the soldier's sitting here and they really have to make that decision for themselves. I think inherently they know it's wrong, but they also don't want to disobey a direct order or whatever the case may be. So, Independent Marine, good morning. How are you doing? So I think there are some really good police officers and some really good soldiers, and of course some really good veterans. But you're always going to have the bad ones too. You're always going to have the police officers that are going to throw people on the ground and arrest them because they're not wearing a mask, because a mayor of a city signed a piece of paper. You're always going to have those. You're always going to have soldiers who are willing to go door to door. And again, I would argue illegally seize things because they've been given the order, the directive to do it. So you're always going to have people on both sides of that fence. Steven Story, how you doing? And so that gray area really is not a good thing. When you have social unrest going on, that gray area becomes dangerous in some cases. Outlaw Farms. Bringing up Red Dawn, of course, excellent movie, but think about Red Dawn. And instead of teenage football players, okay, now you have veterans with the training that have been discarded by their government. Put those folks into that situation, and you understand how strong and well regulated our militia is here in the United States. And a couple of you have said, hey, I'm a veteran in chat. Thank you for your service. I know it's not Veterans Day, but whatever. Y'all need to be thanked every day. I'll close with this, MK John. When is the time to start getting together to train and work on a plan? It's past time. It's past time. You should be thinking about a group right now if you've not already done so. People that you can trust, people that you can trust, you properly vetted. But it's past time to be working on a plan like that. And I'm going to close with this because our plan has changed significantly. I don't think we're going to be bugging out. I think we've become like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, bugging out was the plan. And now we're shifting into, I think, bunkering in. Bunkering in is going to be the plan here. So, Prepper Chucking, good morning. So plans do change. And you got to be able to adapt to certain things, and that's one thing that I've had to learn over the past several months. But it's way past time to be putting a plan into place. It's not too late, but you need to jump right on it.
and you need to figure out, are you going to bunker in, bug out, who's going to be with you, what they're responsible for, have they properly, been properly vetted, what kind of supplies you're talking about long term, all this stuff. Got to stay flexible. Thank you very much. And defend till the end. I love that, Talon. God bless y'all. We will be live sometime this week. I'm not sure which day yet. And also, the folks on Patreon will have a private chat sometime in the evening this week. But I appreciate everybody being here. Until next time, y'all take care and God bless.